Hello students, I am Dr. Harpreet Kaur from Army Institute of Law Mohali. The topic for today's discussion is Right to Free and Compulsory Elementary Education in India and Analytical Study. I'll start with the quote of Nelson Mandela, which says, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Introducing the topic, education is a fundamental human right that enables individuals to develop their potential, participate in social and economic life, and contribute to the progress of society. Education is also a key instrument for achieving the goals of sustainable development, peace, democracy, and human dignity. Recognizing the importance of education, the Constitution of India has made several provisions to ensure the right to education for all citizens, especially for the children. The right to education in India has evolved through a series of judicial interpretation and legislative enactment. The Constitution of India, as originally enacted in 1950, did not explicitly guarantee the right to education as a fundamental right, but only as a directive principle of state policy under Article 45, which stated that the state shall endeavour to provide within a period of 10 years from the commencement of this Constitution for free and compulsory education for all children until they complete the age of 14 years. However, this provision was not legally enforceable and remained largely unfulfilled due to various social, economic and political constraints. The first major breakthrough in the judicial recognition of the right to education came in the landmark case of Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka, where the Supreme Court of India held that right to education is an integral part of right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution, and that no citizen can be denied this right on the ground of non-availability of funds or resources. The court also observed that right to education extends to higher education as well, and the state has a duty to provide adequate facilities and opportunities for education at all levels. The court further declared that charging capitation fees or profiteering from education is unconstitutional and violative of the right to education. The Supreme Court reaffirmed and expanded the scope of the right to education in a subsequent case of Unikrishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh, where it laid down a scheme for regulating admissions and fees in private unaided educational institutions and also directed the state to provide free and compulsory education to all children up to the age of 14 years, irrespective of their caste, creed or religion. The court also clarified that right to education is not absolute but subject to reasonable restrictions in the interest of general public, and that the state has the power to prescribe the standards and norms of education as well as the qualifications and conditions of services of the teacher. Defining the term education. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO, education is a fundamental human right and essential for the exercise of all other human rights. It promotes individual freedoms and empowerment and yields important development benefits. Yet, millions of children and adults remain deprived of educational opportunity, many as a result of poverty. According to the World Bank, education is a powerful driver of development and one of the strongest instruments for reducing poverty and improving health, gender equality, peace and stability. Developing countries have made tremendous progress in getting children into the classroom, and the majority of children worldwide are now in primary school. Nevertheless, some 260 million children are still out of primary and secondary school. According to American Education Research Association, education is the enterprise of teaching and learning and the study of the processes and outcomes of teaching and learning. Education encompasses formal and informal settings from preschool to lifelong learning and includes domains such as cognitive, social, emotional, moral and physical development. Education also involves the creation, dissemination and application of knowledge in various fields and disciplines. According to philosopher John Dewey, education is the process of living and not a preparation for future living. Education is not an affair of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process. Education is the reconstruction or reorganization of experience which adds to the meaning of experience and which increases ability to direct the course of subsequent experience. Historical background of education. The right to free and compulsory elementary education in India has been a long-standing aspiration of the nation as well as a constitutional and legal obligation. However, the realization of this right has been a complex and challenging process involving various commissions, policies and programs over the years. The following is a brief overview of the major commissions on education in India that have contributed to development of elementary education in the country. The University Education Commission 1948 to 1949 is also known as the Radhakrishnan Commission. It was the first commission on education in independent India, appointed by the Government of India to report on the problems and prospects of university education. The commission also made some recommendations on elementary education, such as the provision for free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14 years, the improvement of the quality and standards of education, the promotion of national integration and social justice, and development of a common school system of public education. The Secondary Education Commission 1950-53, also known as the Mudaliar Commission, was appointed by the Government of India to examine the problem of secondary education and to suggest measures for its reorganization and improvement. The Commission also made some suggestions on elementary education, such as the extension of the duration of elementary education from 6 to 8 years, the introduction of diversified curriculum and the establishment of multi-purpose schools, the improvement of the training and status of teachers and coordination of different stages of education. The Indian Education Commission 1964 to 1966, also known as Kothari Commission, was appointed by the Government of India to advise on the national pattern of education and the general principles and policies for the development of education at all stages and in all aspects. The Commission submitted a comprehensive report titled Education and National Development regarding the foundations of the national policy on education. Constitutional provisions for education in India. First is right to free and compulsory education, which is given under Article 45. Right to education, which is given under Article 21A. Next is education for women, which is given under Article 15, Clause 1 and Clause 3 of the Constitution. The next provision is promotion of education and economic interest of SC, ST and other weaker section of society, which is dealt under Article 46 of the Constitution. Next are the various religious educational rights, which are given under Article 25, 28, Clause 1, 2 and 3. Next is education of minorities, protection of interest of minorities, which is given under Article 29 of the Constitution. Next is the right of minorities to establish and administer educational institution, that is Article 30. Any order that promotes the welfare of the people is secured by Article 38 of the Indian Constitution. Next is instruction should be given in mother tongue at the primary stage is given under Article 350A of the Constitution. The concept of promotion of Hindi is given under Article 351 of the Constitution, and the education in Union Territories is given under 239 of the Constitution. Lastly, there is a fundamental duty, that is duty to provide opportunity for education, which is given under Article 51A of the Constitution. Evaluation of Right to Education Act of 2010. John Dewey aptly said that education is not preparation for life, education is life itself. Hereby, evaluating the key provisions of Right to Education Act 2010 with respect to right to free and compulsory education in India will provide a detailed analysis if the education is becoming a life for the student or not. The key provisions of the Act are: Section 3. This section states that every child of the age of 6 to 14 years shall have a right to free and compulsory education in the neighborhood school till he completes the elementary education. Section 4. This section provides for admission of children who has not been admitted to or who has not completed elementary education to an age appropriate class and the completion of his or her elementary education. Section 5. This section prohibits the screening procedure for admission of children and the payment of capitation fee by parents or guardian. Section 6. This section imposes a duty on the appropriate government and the local authority to establish a school in the neighborhood within such area or limits of neighborhood as may be prescribed where it is not so established. Section 7. This section specifies the sharing of financial and other responsibilities between the central government and the state governments for providing free and compulsory education to children. Section 8. This section enumerates the duties of the appropriate government such as providing free and compulsory education, ensuring availability of a neighborhood school, ensuring good quality elementary education, providing infrastructure, teacher and learning material, and ensuring admissions, attendance and completion of elementary education, and monitoring the functioning of the school. Section 9. This section enumerates the duty of the local authorities such as providing free and compulsory education, maintaining records of children, ensuring admissions, attendance and completion of elementary education, providing infrastructure, teachers and learning materials, ensuring good quality elementary education and monitoring the functioning of the schools. Section 10. This section imposes a duty on the parents or guardian to admit or cause to be admitted their child or ward as the case may be to an elementary education in the neighborhood school. Section 11. This section empowers the appropriate government to make necessary arrangements for providing free preschool education for children above the age of 3 years who belong to disadvantaged group and weaker section. Section 12. This section mandates the reservation of 25% of seats in every private school for children belonging to weaker sections and disadvantaged group and the reimbursement of their fees by the government. Section 13. This section prohibits the denial of admission, holding back, expulsion or any form of discrimination of any child on any ground and the subjection of any child to physical punishment or mental harassment. Section 14. This section provides for recognition and regulation of private schools and the withdrawal of recognition in case of violation of the norms and standards prescribed under the Act. Section 15. This section lays down the norms and standards for schools such as pupil-teacher ratio, the minimum number of working days and instructional hours, the building and infrastructure, the teaching and learning equipments, the library, the playground, the health and the safety measures, etc. Section 16. This section provides for the curriculum and evaluation procedure based on the principles of child-centered and child-friendly education, continuous and comprehensive evaluation and no detention policy. Section 17. This section provides for the monitoring and grievances redressal mechanism involving the national and state commissions for protection of child rights, the school management committees and the local authorities. The RTE Act has been hailed as a historic and landmark legislation that has the potential to transform the educational scenario in India and to realize the goal of universalization of elementary education. However, the implementation of the RTE Act has also faced several challenges and issues, such as the lack of adequate financial and human resources, the poor quality and accountability of the teachers, the resistance and non-compliance of private schools, the exclusion and discrimination of marginalized and vulnerable groups, the dilution and distortion of curriculum and evaluation standard, and the lack of awareness and participation of the stakeholders. Therefore, there is a need for a critical and constructive analysis of the RTE Acts, its achievement and shortcoming, its strength and weakness, and its opportunity and threats. There is also a need for a continuous and collaborative effort by the government, the civil society, the media, the academia and the public to ensure the effective and efficient implementation of RTE Act and to make the right to education a reality for every child in India. Next, I will be discussing judicial role in right to education. There are a number of cases. The first cases is Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka. Miss Mohini Jain, a Meerut native, applies for MBBS in a private college in Karnataka in 1991. The college asked for rupees 60,000 as tuition fee and a bank guarantee for the next year. They rejected her when she could not pay. She alleged that they also demanded rupees 4,50,000 extra, but they denied it. The Supreme Court ruled in this case that even though right to education as such has not been protected by the Constitution as a fundamental right, it is obvious from the preamble and directive principles of the Constitution that the state was intended to provide education for its citizens. Additionally, they ruled that private educational institution collection of capitation fees violated the right to education that is implied by the right to life, human dignity and equal protection under the law. Second case is Unikrishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh. This case was decided by Supreme Court of India in 1993 and it reaffirmed and expanded the scope of the right to education under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. The court laid down a scheme for regulating admissions and fees in private unaided educational institutions and also directed the state to provide free and compulsory education to all children up to the age of 14 years, irrespective of their caste, creed or religion. The court also clarified that right to education is not absolute but subject to reasonable restrictions in the interest of general public, and the state has the power to prescribe the standards and norms of education as well as the qualification and condition of service of teachers. The court also disagreed with the ruling of Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka that the Constitution guarantees the right to education at all levels. Following the constitutional bench's ruling in Unikrishnan, the Supreme Court declared that Article 45 has now been elevated to the status of a fundamental right in the case of MC Mehta versus State of Tamil Nadu and others. Next case is TMA Pai Foundation versus State of Karnataka. This case was decided by an 11-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India in 2002 and it dealt with the issue of the rights and obligations of private unaided educational institutions in relation to admissions, fees and reservation. The court held that such institutions have the right to autonomy in administration and management and that they can admit students of their choice subject to a minimum percentage of merit-based admissions. The court also held that such institutions can charge reasonable fees but not capitation fee or profiteering. The court further held that such institutions are not bound by the reservation policy of the state, but they can voluntarily adopt a reasonable percentage of reservation for students belonging to weaker sections and disadvantaged group. Next case is PA Inamdar versus State of Maharashtra. This case was decided by a 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India in 2005 and it clarified and modified some of the aspects of TMA Pai Foundation case. The court held that the state cannot impose quotas or reservations on private unaided educational institutions, either for admissions or for appointment of staff. The court also held that the state cannot regulate the fees of such institutions except to prevent capitation fee or profiteering. The court further held that the state can however prescribe the eligibility criteria and the procedure for admissions and that a common entrance test conducted by the state or an association of such institution is the best method to ensure transparency and merit. Society of Unaided Private School of Rajasthan versus Union of India. This case was decided by Supreme Court of India in 2012 and it upheld the constitutional validity of the right of children to free and compulsory education Act 2009, which provides for the right to education for all children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. Ashok Kumar Thakur and others versus Union of India. Honorable Justice Bhandari's opinion in Ashok Kumar Thakur case, a major case on affirmative action in India, discussed the right to education. The case was about whether reserving seats in educational institutions for other backward classes violated equality. Justice Bhandari agreed with the other judges in upholding the reservation, but criticized the government for prioritizing higher education over basic education. He also commented on Article 21A, which gives the right to education to all children. He said that this right has two aspects. First, all children must go to school, and second, the education they must get must be of quality. He hinted that the Supreme Court may rule that quality education is a constitutional duty in future cases. The case of Election Commission of India versus St. Mary's School. The Supreme Court of India dealt with a case where school staff were asked to conduct election during school hours in Election Commission of India versus St. Mary's School. The court had to balance two constitutional goals, free and fair elections and free and elementary education. The court said that right to education was more important than the election duty, and the teachers could only be used for election on non-school day. The court also referred to Article 21, which protects life and personal liberty as the basis of its decision. In case of Avinash Mehrotra versus Union of India Other, the Supreme Court of India ruled that right to education include right to safe learning environment and ordered school to follow fire safety rule. This was after a fire in a private school which killed 93 children in Kumbakonam district. The school had violated many building codes and had not been inspected for 3 years. Justice Bhandari said that Article 21A, which gives the right to education, should be interpreted broadly and not just mean a teacher, a blackboard, a classroom or a book. He said that unsafe building cannot be considered as fulfilling the right to education. He also said that state had not done enough to ensure school safety. The Supreme Court set the basic fire safety standard for schools under Article 21A. Critical analysis. The harsh reality is that the current education system is producing job-oriented, self-seeking citizens than the visualized, spirited, knowledgeable, helpful citizens. There is a dire need of the arts to incorporate the suggestions of the commissions and make education not just as an exam passing and degree attaining means, but a process via which the students actually become knowledgeable, truthful, capable, independent and strong citizens of the nation. Especially the college education need to be reformed, and no unnecessary function which promote extravagant, unnecessary expenditure and make people more body identified should ever be organized. Instead of freshers etc., patriotic functions, meditation camp etc. should be organized, or a respectful gathering to welcome the juniors or to bid adieu to the seniors. The following subjects should be incorporated in all the courses. Technical knowledge. To make the student independent, driving skills, basic knowledge of cars, gadgets, scientific development like artificial intelligence etc. should be taught in all the courses. Also, they should be taught practical maths to ensure that they are able to calculate prices, measure distances etc. efficiently. Second is life lessons. To enhance the understanding of the student, the life lesson, what is the ultimate truth of universal existence, teaching of great people like Lord Buddha, Swami Vivekananda, Yoganand and such other revolutionaries who have lived great lives should be taught in a secular manner. It will set great examples in front of students to live a true great life. The basic understanding of real happiness, real love, real meaning of success from within should be taught to children so that they are able to easily identify that they need to choose truth and God over anger, lust, attachment, greed, ego, fear, etc. Third is the basic medical knowledge. Basic medical and biological knowledge should be imparted in students, especially for emergency situation and including home science such that each student knows basic cooking to lead an independent and a real relevant life. Fourth, basic legal knowledge. To make aware citizenry, basic rights and duties must be taught to each citizen. Fifth, general knowledge and general awareness. To ensure that the students are aware about their surroundings, basic social, geographical, environmental, political, economic and historical aspects should be taught to the students which are of practical utility for them to lead a self-reliant life. Example, why saving electricity is important, issues like climate change, etc. Sixth is sport. Every student must play minimum one game efficiently to ensure their physical health and mental well-being. Seventh is co-curricular activities, competition which involve public speaking skill, brainstorming sessions regarding existing social practices and current affairs must be organized to ingrain the spirit of inquiry amongst the student. It is very pertinent to impart the questioning spirit in the student. Languages, a global language English, a regional language like Hindi or Punjabi, and one additional language to promote cultural affinity must be there. Specialization. Besides these fun-filled subjects and activities, the main course of students should make them proficient in the subject so that they are able to help all and sundry efficiently by utilizing their skill. And lastly, there must be a uniform for all the student, teacher and staff to reduce extravagant expenditure and bring uniformity and teach all to lead an environment-friendly, simple, truthful life. Moreover, these teachers should be no less than ideal for the students, and the overall environment of the institute must be filled with moral values, patriotic spirit and respectful culture. Thus, the education system should be such that it makes each student into a capable human being to lead an absolutely independent life full of freedom, courage, truth, love and real happiness. Such human being will be able to lead a life which could contribute to world peace. In conclusion, I would like to say one of the most important piece of legislation in Indian history is to ensure that children receive a basic education is the amendment to the fundamental right of education. The nation's future lies within its children. Education is therefore a tool for introducing a child to cultural values, preparing him for future professional training and assisting him in making a normal adjustment to his surrounding. A child today cannot succeed in life without education. The fundamental right to education applies to everyone equally. The most crucial component of higher education is therefore elementary education. I would like to conclude by saying when learning is purposeful, creativity blossoms. When creativity blossoms, thinking emanates. When thinking emanates, knowledge is fully lit. When knowledge is fully lit, economy flourishes. These are the lines by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I hope you liked the lecture. Thank you and have a nice day.